if it had happened to one of my teammates, God knows how that may have affected them. I don't think that it didn't truly affect me because I had an understanding as to what the situation was and what the circumstances were, and we went about playing our business in Game 3 and Game 4. So to answer your question, I don't think that there's anything I need to be absolved from, and from the fan base, I certainly don't look at the fan base as being a body of people who have hung on to that. I really don't. I mean, yes, it comes up, and yes, it's in their mind, and it is. It's a point in King's history. That point, though, if it has honesty and there's real frankness involved with it, I'm fine with it.
Would you like a Montreal player representative to just come out and set the record straight? Because there were stories about the New York Giants picking up signs when that famous Bobby Thompson game took place. These things come out years, decades later. It's been nearly 2 decades now. Would you like some Montreal players or a Montreal official to say, hey, we won the cup, we're not giving it back, but hey, this is what happened?
I've been contacted over the years by a lot of Montreal media, and it's really funny because when they contact me, they'll say, well, we want to do something on the stick. I'm like, fine. And I will, and I'm talking to them like I'm talking to you guys now, and I'll say, do me a favor, go and get one of the players from the team. And I'll name 3 or 4 players that, the Kirk Mullers, Gary Lehmans, those guys, Matthew Snyders, who will be honest. And I said, and ask them the question honestly, and then call me back. They never call me back. So,
But you've had players admit to you.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. As other guys in our team. This is not a revelation today. This is just something that is kind of out there and people snicker about in the background. But this is how I am. I'm honest and I'm frank, and this is what happened. I'm not complaining. I'm trying to we'll get this day over with, and then we'll move on to the success of the team. Because I think that you guys really wanted it to be addressed. But my wife is getting text messages on her cell phone. I think it is probably a good idea to address it.
From fans or media?
From media, yeah.
What happened to the stick?
I have it.
You have it? Where?
I have it.
Wow.
Oh, I have it.
Where is it at?
No, I have it.
I know. Is it in the house? In the storage bin?
No, you never know who's going to show up looking for it.
Right time for
No,
a bonfire?
No. See, because, again, you've asked about absolved or bonfire. I don't think it fits in that category. I really don't.
But you have it at
I have
home?
it, yeah.
Okay.
I'll have to tell you something
On
interesting.
display, or is it kind of in the closet
No,
somewhere?
I have it. I'm just.
On display or in the closet?
It's not on display. Because, again, I don't think it warrants a display.
Okay.
I mean, when you talk about other things in sports, which is bigger, my stick or the story? And there's a question that I think that needs to be answered.
Well, you do see, though, that fans tie the two together.
Which?
That your stick and the story.
Well, but the whole story, and they say the whole story and everything combined.
The fans don't look that deep sometimes. They look for moments.
Well, again, I think that's, as a member of the media, again, that maybe that is our responsibility in a sense when, because the fans, and I love it. When I'll ask fans who their favorite player is and who their favorite moments in sports are, they'll go back to the Triple Crown line here in Los Angeles, or maybe they'll go to Adam Deadmarsh or Ziggy Palfy or different guys within the organization, and I think that that's what gives an organization a rich history. And let's be honest, this stick incident, which they want to, which has been made a very, very big deal, is part of our history. It really is, and we had a very good team, a very close-knit team that went to the Stanley Cup Finals, and we were that close to winning it, and win it with that call, win it without the call, win it with the call maybe made before that, or what have you. We were that close to winning, and it's a great part of the Kings' history.
Can you tell us, you mentioned 3 names there, can you give a few players?
No, I don't think that's fair to those guys, because if I name those guys, they may have guys on their teams or whatever, calling them and saying, don't disgrace or whatever. That's not fair to them. These are friends of mine, and again, I think that if we can, to get past it, because I don't want this to come out as saying that I'm blasting the Montreal Canadiens, because the Montreal Canadiens are a much different scenario now than they were in '93. They've got a new general manager, again, who I like as a friend of mine, and I'm wishing them a lot of success. Mm-hmm. I think that the Canadian teams have a little bit of a hurdle sometimes now, and I wish him a lot of success with that. So,
can we get initials?
Did they measure like in between periods? There was like a lot of things about like a trainer going over there.
No, our stick rack was in their locker.
Okay. They just took the
So because it was on wheels. What had happened, the stick rack used to come around underneath the stands.
Yeah.
And then put up against the wall where the 2 benches were. And there was a police officer on the bench watching the bench. They wheeled the stick back into their locker room. And again, Luke Robitaille and Peter Demers and other guys have mentioned that, and that's the fact of it. So after that is, you know, it is what it is.
When I talked to Perry Melrose, he said he would actually check a handful of guys' sticks, not yours usually. I mean, was the majority of guys on the ice at that time using sticks that if you actually measured it were probably...
Well, and that's a great question, because the real secret there was you never knew for sure.
Yeah.
So it was almost like something you didn't think about, because if you weren't sure, you don't make that call in key situations, which if they were wrong, probably they automatically lose the game.
Yeah.
So that was a real gutsy call without having any information. It was, you know, that's what shocked us about it, that they made the call. So maybe, yeah, I don't know what Barry did as a coach, because I was doing what I do and trying to prepare myself as best for me to play. And there might have been some guys that Barry looked out for. You know, the one kid, Alex Shitnick, a rookie, I think that Barry went out of his way to kind of make sure that the kid was comfortable, because the kid had a great year and played phenomenal for us and turned into a very good NHL player. And that was his rookie season, as was Daryl Sador's. I mean, that's a great story in itself.
The curse actually goes both ways. In Canada, the curse is no Canadian team has won since then, and it's sort of maybe that's the way they're going to win. What do you feel about that no Canadian team has won since 93?
Oh, you know what, I think that, you know, I'm going to celebrate if the Kings can win right now, whether there's no Canadian team. I'm a fan. I am. I'm a fan of the game. I think that if the Kings fans see me at Staples Center, I try to find a real quiet spot and sit and watch the game and kind of enjoy and celebrate the players. So the fact of whether a Canadian team has won or not won, I really want them to do well. The organizations, and I get to go into the buildings in Canada quite regularly to see games. What a phenomenal environment. You know, we saw when the Vancouver fans were coming down last year and this year, and how many people they were bringing with them, how many people traveled with them. The fan bases are great. So whether they've won or not, and when they've won, that's something that I really just don't concern myself with.
Marty, you talked about trying to get the bigger story out there, and it's more than just the stick, but to get the bigger story out there, don't you have to also go back to the round before that? I mean, the Kings wouldn't even be in the Stanley Cup Finals without you in that series with Toronto. Can you talk about that epic 7-game series with Toronto and your contribution?
Yeah, the only thing is that I think if you say, well, we wouldn't have got to the finals, that's like saying, well, you really messed up in the finals, but here, or pat me on the back, we wouldn't have got there. I don't think that that's really suitable. I think that as much fun as that series was, and in Toronto, I'll be honest, I think my brother cleared off the messages in my hotel in Toronto. I think I had 105 threats phoned into the hotel.
Was that after Game 1 or Game 7?
I think it was after Game 1.
Yeah.
So, that being said, the Toronto series, the whole play, Gary Shuchuk's double overtime goal, we had so many great characters on that hockey team. You know, if anything, so much talk of the stick, you know, downplayed the contribution. And, you know, I'm getting questions now about comparing the two teams, which I think are great questions. I really enjoy that. I can kind of go in depth about what the Kings' strengths are now, what our strengths were there, and those are real hockey questions, which I'm really fond of and I love. So I appreciate that you're saying that, but I don't think in this situation that really applies.
So how about the two teams then, 93 versus 2012, the two Kings teams meet up?
Well, I think
the matchup.
we played a little bit differently. We played a little bit more of a barnstorming game. I think if truth be told, that Jacques Lemaire was very, very involved with the Montreal Canadiens. It may have been the first time we saw the Trap in the National Hockey League was in that Stanley Cup Finals, because Lemaire came in and basically, because of Savard, said this is how we're going to approach this series, and knew how we were from a standpoint of run and gun and away we go. So it was. We were flamboyant. We had Wayne Gretzky, which all eyeballs in hockey were on Wayne Gretzky when Wayne Gretzky was playing, and especially in the Stanley Cup Finals. And right now with the Kings, I hope when this series is over that Jonathan Quick is a bona fide star on the NHL. Andy Kopitar showed me a ton of leadership. He showed me the fact that he is one of the best players in the National Hockey League and has to be considered in that game.